Hey folks, I am your host BKP. It is Friday morning. The sun is shining in Blue Ridge and we are at Circuit World. All the above. Beautiful Friday morning here in downtown Blue Ridge, Georgia. And let's see, today we have Ask the Doc with Dr. William Whaley and Dr. Raymond Tidman. They're over there in the green room. And an anniversary is an anniversary. Good one, bad one, remembrance, whatever you want to say. But it has been 1 year. And folks, you could go back in a year on this program on Friday. Immediately, Dr. William Whaley, we're in March. Immediately, Dr. William Whaley, Dr. Marlowe down in Atlanta, Dr. Raymond Tidman came in, and we immediately started working on bringing you updates on COVID-19 and the pandemic a year ago. So these two doctors are going to be talking about a year in review and where we've come from, where we're at, and maybe some misleading information, maybe some accurate information, but most of all, what we've learned over a year. So this is going to be a big Ask the Doc segment this morning you don't want to miss, and tell your friends. Also, we're going to have the All-Star Political Panel, as we always do. And then we're going to have Beth Bennett, Tax Tips with Beth Bennett. I think Beth is supposed to be here today. We're going to have Tax Tips with H&R Block, Beth Bennett. And we're going to round out the morning with our Pet of the Week. Now, last week we had pets. We had 2 puppies here, so I really don't know what the Humane Society has planned for us Humane Society of Blue Ridge has planned for us this morning, but we round out the show with our Pet of the Week. Now, last night, President Joseph R. Biden, he walked down the hallway. He accomplished that. I know, you don't have to be mean. I'm not being mean, They pointed Joe down the hallway and said, "Go straight for the podium, Joe." So Joe walked straight for the podium, and in the teleprompter, Mr. President, will be 20 minutes of words where he read. I would do the same thing, but he read May 1 instead of first, anyhow. Not picking on that. I'm not here to analyze whether the president read the teleprompter and said May 1, okay? So they pointed him down the hall. You said, go straight for the teleprompter. When you get there, stop, okay? It's in his ear. So he stopped, read the 20 minutes. When it says on the teleprompter, go real low with your voice and focus in and sound compassionate. I mean, he did all that. He did well. He had the 2 or 3 vitamin B shots that he took. He had the whole thing of vitamins that he took to try to make sure that he could focus for 20 minutes on that teleprompter. You can get upset if you want, and then they said, when you're done, Joe, turn and walk straight down the hall. When you get to the end, we'll cut the cameras, and then it'll be over. So he accomplished that. We'll give him that. But you know what? If you're in coaching, okay, and you're up against the other team or whatever it may be, you come out and you say, the team is well coached. They have great players. We're going to be up tonight against some really good players. They got this happening, that happening. They're very, very good program, very well coached. If you're a new coach in an organization, you don't come in and say, well, the last coach was this and the last coach was that, and all the players on the team were undisciplined players and this and that. You say, you come in and you just get past that and go on. And the reason I put it that way is it's a shame that last night Joseph R. Biden didn't stress the super spreader event at the border, where 9 to 11% of the illegals coming across our border are positive for COVID, okay? They're not wearing a mask, folks, okay? You can get a fine in the state of Pennsylvania. You can get a fine in Michigan. You can get tossed off the basketball team for not having your mask on and having a picture. But you can run across that southern border, no mask, test positive, and get right into school and sit next to your classmate. I'm not making that up. It's happening on the southern border, okay? but we had to pass a $1.9 trillion boondoggle to get our kids back in school. So no discussion last night, none whatsoever, about the super spreader event at the border. No discussion last night about the crisis of drug cartels operating freely and openly at the border. Coyotes, and I'm not talking Wile E. Coyote in a cartoon, coyotes that are moving unaccompanied children across the border, so on, and so on. No discussion of that whatsoever. No discussion of inflation, okay? So you have, let's get clear here, folks. You have Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve. Then you have the former head of the Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen, is our Secretary-Treasurer. And together, they will lead you to believe that inflation is soft, not to worry about. But you out there at home, you know that plywood is up, what, to $35 a sheet, or OSB as they call it. I don't know, in some areas. Gas on the West Coast is over $4. In the Northeast, it's $3. Right here across the street, it's $2.60. You know that. You know the price of food and dry goods just in the last year, what they've gone up. And you know the supply chains, how we can't get certain things, and prices are 3 or 4 times more than they were a year ago. See, you and I know that. But they're going to lead us to believe inflation's under control. So last night, and I got to move along, I'm getting a little long, I thought, why did Joe have to, and it's only 45 seconds, why did he have to even start lying? Whether you like that or not, I don't like the word embellish. I'll hear people say, well, they embellish. They embellish. I don't like it. One, I can't spell it, so why use it, right? When you lie, you lie. Fact. So here it is. 18 seconds to 1 minute. Play the tape, Emily, of Joe Biden opening up, lying to the American people.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. Tonight, I'd like to talk to you about where we are as we mark 1 year since everything stopped because of this pandemic. A year ago, we were hit with a virus that was met with silence and spread unchecked. Denials for days, weeks, then months. That led to more deaths, more infections, more stress, and more loneliness. Photos and videos from 2019 feel like they were taken.
So immediately after watching that, I thought to myself, what was that 45 seconds necessary for? What was the need? When he comes out and says he wants to unify the country, why would he open his speech that way? Knowing, and I said, somebody has to be writing an article right now saying that this was not true. So over at the Washington Times here, a year ago, we were hit with a virus that was met with silence. That's a lie. Where were we? January. What were we doing? We were impeaching the President of the United States. Yes. Okay? It was met with silence and a spread unchecked denial for days, weeks, and months that led to more deaths, President Biden said in his first address to the nation Thursday night. Let me just give you a couple things and I will get out. On January 6, 2020, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, under the guidance of President Trump, issued a travel notice from Wuhan, China, due to the spreading coronavirus. On January 20th, the day the Chinese finally admitted the virus could be transmitted through the air, the U.S. announced that they were already working on developing a vaccine. Okay? On January 29th, Mr. Trump formed the Coronavirus Task Force. On January 29th, a Coronavirus Task Force was formed while they were still discussing in the Senate if they were going to have witnesses to impeach the president. Perhaps Mr. Biden wasn't paying attention at that time. Democrats, after all, were obsessed with impeaching Mr. Trump. So, look, Joe Biden, you know what? You're telling us on the 4th of July we can get a small watermelon, get the small one, and we can have a couple fireworks, and we can have a small picnic. Really? Don't tell us what to do if you don't even know the truth of what happened and took place last year where the COVID-19 coronavirus, maybe I don't know. I might talk a little more about that at the All-Star Political Panel. Next up, Ask the Doc with Dr. William Whaley and Raymond Tidman.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in Ellijay, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on-site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Do you feel like healthcare has become too impersonal?
3 times an hour, I'll get you in, I'll get you out.
At Lifetime Medical Center, you're more than a number. We get to know you, not just your medical issues. Dr. Alana Kent is board certified in family practice and offers same-day appointments. She and her staff treat conditions from minor to chronic issues. Lifetime Medical Center, convenient to Jasper and Blue Ridge.
This may sting a little.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
It's been 4 generations of family ownership, tens of thousands of customers, and more Chevys than we'd ever be able to count. And more than 60 years later, when we say Days Gets It Done, we still mean it. With the North Georgia Mountains lowest Chevy prices, a huge selection, and outstanding customer care. See Days Chevrolet in Jasper, and let's get it done. Days Chevrolet, Days Gets It Done. Find new roads.
They were discussing events, getting events started. These people don't have. Hey, we're back, folks. We apologize. We hope you didn't have to reset your TV or whatever, but we had a technical difficulty, but we're back.
Yeah, I hope they got a cup of coffee or something.
How you doing, Dr. Whaley?
What's a TV?
Oh, by the way, they're on the computer, iPhone, the app, whatever. It is time for Ask the Doc with Dr. William Whaley and Dr. Raymond Tidman. We want to thank Georgia Cancer Specialists affiliated with Northside Hospital for this segment. As I said in my opening, it has been 1 year, Dr. Whaley. We have been a year. A year ago, we started these updates, and I remember we would actually have Dr. Marlowe. There were several weeks Dr. Marlowe would call in, and at that time we were just China had just started and announced what it could do. We're finding out, is it airborne? How long does it last on plastic, paper, all the above? So I know you wanted to open up and talk about that today.
I'm going to start with my medical time. I think we've established on this program before that I'm a lousy golfer. I play 7 times a year.
We established that. Yes.
We've established that I was terrible at English literature and poetry, but I was really good at physics, math, chemistry. And those sciences raise a rocket science
over here.
Yes. Okay, now, this is my mea culpa. We will show, as we answer these questions, and we've done it before, a chart of a experimental design where someone has a hypothesis about cancer treatment. They then design an experiment of treatment A versus treatment B, and you'll see a graph of how those two things happen, and then they'll turn it over to some statistician, scientist that we aren't, and they'll say, okay, this is statistically significant at this level, and therefore penicillin is better for strep throat than sulfur drug or whatever. So that's basically the scientific method. Now, this goes back 20,000, 30,000 years to the Fertile Crescent, but I'm not going to try to give you too much geography, but Western civilization, as we know it, began between the Tigris and the Euphrates River, where people were hunters and gatherers, and when they began to gather together and they saw that one kind of rice with a grain on the, one type of grass with a grain on the top of it was bigger than another one, they'd take the big grain and put it in the ground, and then they'd do that over generations, and then all of a sudden out came wheat. So that sort of scientific investigation, or they'd take two big cattle and put them together and get a bigger cattle. That all is country stuff. They do that up here. They've been doing it in the country forever. That's a scientific method of observing something and then making the assumption that if I do this, it's going to be better, and it might take generations for those things to show up. But that's how we learn things. So I gave BKP an article that was in today's last night's news. So here's the top 3 articles in last night's news, and I'm not going to talk about number 1 because BKP already has, and that's the July 4th junk. But the second one says, year of COVID, everything we thought we knew was wrong. And I think what that article really does, it's a very well written out scientific article, was that the assumptions were made early on that this epidemic would be like the influenza of 1918. Then when they realized that it was really a COVID virus, they thought that it would be more like the SARS and the MERS, which are COVIDs. And neither one of those had asymptomatic transmission during the period of incubation, and there was very little in the way of asymptomatic infected people infecting somebody else. And early on, you know, they knew that when they learned that it was aerosolized, this idea of putting up these barricades between people that we're doing today doesn't make any sense, because this stuff can circulate over it. So we've had all of these assumptions that over time we've proven to be wrong. Right now, we believe that if you take your 2 shots with the vaccine, 15 days later you can pretty much live your life the way you want to live it, that your mask isn't going to protect you against anything, it's not going to protect the people you're around against anything, but makes you socially acceptable at the Walmart. So what I'm trying to say is that the truth that we know of today may change again in the next 6 months, and it's not a conspiracy. It's that scientists are learning more, and that's building blocks on stuff. And as Ray's going to point out, and I'll shut up right now in a minute, once the scientists learn this stuff, the politicians and the people that think they're running our lives didn't change their behavior much. So when we get through that, we'll come back to talking about cancer, and I'll show some of these graphs. Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, that's a good lead off. One of the things that I've been joking about, and it's really not a joke, is that if you've got a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And in this case, you know, I think if you got a hammer, let's get a sledgehammer out and swat flies with it. Well, it's pretty damn hard to kill a fly with a sledgehammer. You know, you just can't move it fast enough, and you end up tearing up all your furniture. So we've taken this sledgehammer of a cure, that is isolate the healthy, and just torn our country and our economy up. I mean, it's just a bad thing, and we're not going to see the outcomes, the downside of this for years. We've hinted at it and talked about it, but I mean, literally a sledgehammer to our economy and our culture. Let me step aside from that for a minute. When I was a young aerospace engineer, one of the things that you do is try to learn how to be creative in your thinking, how to get out of the box, so to speak. You know, you could be on Mars someday, and you could have a limited number of things that you can work with, and you've got a problem to solve. And if you don't solve that problem, you're dead. So you've got to be able to think outside the box and think every possible way that you can solve that problem, and then pick the best way. And if you narrow yourself down and you go in the manual and you open up right here and you say, oh, okay, well, on this page, that number, it says this is what I should do. Well, you're not going to survive that trip. We started this epidemic, this pandemic, with a notion of a cure. And we really weren't certain about the disease yet. But they got this cure out, this sledgehammer, and they said, we're going to make this disease fit this cure. Now, in medicine, I mean, I'm being pretty hard-nosed here, but if Biller and I were sold a drug or detailed a drug, and the detailer said, this drug cures common cold and also treats chronic pain, you know, have at it, then they're selling me the wrong cure. And some of them will go to jail and pay big fines. Okay? This idea of isolating the healthy had never been done anywhere, and intuitively it's almost incredible to think it could work. And what's worse about it is the first outbreaks were in elderly nursing homes, Washington State, and then in New York. All of a sudden, it was in the nursing homes and killing people, of which 80% of the deaths to this date are in that elderly population, and that's the most protectable population. And what do? We took the sledgehammer out and said, let's isolate all the normal people, all the healthy people. And the more we found out that the healthy people, the school-aged children and the young people, really it's a cold too or a flu, and very rare to kill one of them. We kept trying to isolate them and wreck their school lives and stop their learning and do everything.
And if it killed them, they were morbidly obese generally.
They were very heavy, yeah. So we knew, or now know, that COVID-19, the biggest risk factors is obesity, age, male, female. Okay? That's it. And if you focus on that at-risk group, and direct your cures to that at-risk group, your ability to be successful is far better than taking a sledgehammer to the economy and to our culture. And I keep trying to go back, well, how did we get down this road? Because it's shocking to me. It's completely un-American, and it's completely unmedical. Bill and I have talked about this before. When a patient comes in to see me, I'm trained to listen and pay attention and look for certain things. But at the end of the visit, I have an individual that's talked to me. I've made a suggestion of a treatment, and that individual decides if they will accept that treatment.
Cancer every day. Form consent. Here's your options. I'm going to go home. I'm going to let my prostate cancer not get treated, even though the surgeons recommended operation, radiation therapist recommended radiation therapy. You just showed me a graph that said that that's only going to give me an 8% chance of living longer. I don't want to go through that for 8%. Patient made that decision.
And it's completely respectful, and it's completely like the American culture, that we deal with people on an individual level, and we're respectful wherever they come from, whatever their condition and position, that they make that decision. We uplift the individual and say, this is your life, and I'm trying to help you with it, and you choose, and I will support you any way you go. Okay? What we did with this sorry, beating on the CDC from this treatment was, you're a big herd, we're the big know-it-alls, this is what you're going to do. And we're still doing that. We still have states locking people down instead of saying, nope, you're individuals, here's what we know, do the best you can.
Fortunately, and I will say this because right here on this couch with you two gentlemen, and again going back to Dr. Marlowe, a year ago today when we were doing this, and we did this, if you can go look this up on our website, a year ago today, fortunately, we had a group of very good scientists, we had a group of very good doctors that did not run around with their hair on fire. They stayed focused on trying to come up with a vaccine. They stayed focused on therapeutics, and they stayed focused on what is this virus about, how does it mutate, what does it do. And fortunately, we did have a group, because a year ago today, we didn't know what to do with this thing. And a group, and now we have, and that didn't just happen, and that's why I'm not going to take President Trump, and I'm not going to take Biden to task. I'm fortunate that there was some focus somewhere. A year ago when we started, there was some focus somewhere, because the reason people are not dying today is not because they're not getting it. The therapeutics are better. The hospital treatment, knowing how to treat it, is better. Understanding it now is we have a better understanding. I mean, there's a long list of things
10%.
Would you agree?
But
in the interim, then we had the Hair on Fire group.
Right, and let me jump on that real quick, because that's the basis.
I mean, am I wrong?
That's the basis of what is in the background, where you can say something's not right here. Okay, Neil Armstrong's landing on the moon. Okay, the flashing lights. There's an air light coming off. Okay, fear wasn't a part of his solution.
Right.
That man's got ice water in his veins. You know, he said, I'm taking over, I'm doing this, this is going to way, this way it's going to work. There was no part of fear that was trained into him that's going to solve that. If he had been overwhelmed with fear, then they would have said, you're probably not going to live through this. This solution started with fear. Where is that coming from? Bill and I, we have people disagree all the time about treatments and modalities, surgery versus chemotherapy versus all kinds of decisions, but they never, in my professional life, they never jumped on each other and say, well, you're killing people, or that disease is that thing is stupid. But here in this disease thing, we had physicians and groups of physicians saying, well, if you try ivermectin, or if you try hydroxychloroquine, or if you do this, then you're a killer doctor. That's disruptive and completely unlike our profession, but it's only based on this fear that was seeded down from wherever it came from.
Well, I will say that. Go ahead, sir.
All right, I was going to tell you. You had said, and I want to make this real clear. Here are the Fannin County cases as of today. All right, just look real carefully. There have been 736 cases, which is 7,600 per 100,000. That's close to 1 out of 10 people in Fannin County have had tested have had the disease. For that number, there's probably double or triple that had the disease and never got tested. So that's going to give you 10%, 20% that are walking immune. Now you get to the vaccines that are given out, and I mean, 3 weeks ago it was really hard to get a vaccine. Today you can get it's still not perfect, but you can get the vaccine pretty easy. So now you got another 10% that have been vaccinated already. You're getting to some real community immunity, and they haven't changed their behavior one little bit. Well, they have in Fannin County, and they have in Florida, and they have in Texas. Ray sent me a thing about 22 million people in Florida and 18 million in New York. You know, there's a few tiny deaths. And anyway, but the point is that the first one about the 4th of July, nothing Biden's doing is going to get us to the 4th of July. What's going to get us to the 4th of July is what Pfizer and those people did in January of last year, when they ramped up all of the commercial and government-supported vaccine drug manufacturers everywhere in the world.
Well, see,
and
that's
they
exactly
shared their advice. It wasn't like Ford trying to beat GM in a car with a better battery or something. They gave all their proprietary information to the world at home. Said, look, maybe something we're doing you can do better. That vaccine is the most miraculous thing that's happened in this
Let me say this.
Forever.
Let me say this, okay?
And we got to talk about cancer in a little while.
A year ago, this month, a year ago, we thought a ventilator would cure the disease.
Yeah.
Remember? Right. We thought a ventilator would cure the disease. We shut down auto manufacturing lines, retooled them. We have warehouses now with ventilators.
Yeah.
We have warehouses across this country with ventilators in them that will never be used. They'll never be used. I think it's like Indiana Jones. It's like in 2090 they're going to find this storage building and they're going to say, "What are these things?"
But the point is, we can't fault that. I mean,
I'm not saying we're faulting it. I'm not saying we're faulting it.
We're learning stuff.
But we thought it was. But what I'm saying is, if I came to you, okay. Now you're a professional, and your diagnosis was some sort of cancer with me. The first thing I come out and I talk to my family. Someone in my family would say, "What? You need to get a second opinion."
Right.
Right. Exactly. Right. First thing my family. Somebody would say, "We need to get a second opinion."
And what would I say? Good doctors want everybody to go over their shoulder. Here, I got a good friend at MD Anderson or whatever. I'm going to let you go see him. Right.
But for some reason, that logic went out the window with this. We were not allowed to have an alternative opinion on how to handle this or how to.
Is that true?
No, it's totally true.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
They took away the agency of the individual and said, you're going to do it. Which let me throw. We got to get to cancer here, but let me throw a little thing. It just came to my mind. Georgia Mountains Health has 40 doses of vaccine that will go bad tonight if they're not used. So if you know of a friend or somebody that's been waiting, call Georgia Mountains Health today. Now, I may overwhelm them with this statement, but they've got some vaccine up there that needs to not be wasted.
Okay, we know that.
All right. Now, we're going to go show some of these slides we were talking about a minute ago. So now you ready to talk about cancer?
Yes.
Both of these questions.
I still have another COVID question before we leave. No,
let's hear it.
No, I just like I want the people out there to understand from a different view, and I don't like the politics in it. I'm a political person, as you well know, but I don't like the politics in it. The vaccine, distribution of the vaccine, having it ready, Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Merrick, it's got nothing to do with who's in the Oval Office now. Nothing at all.
Well, yes, it did.
Well, wait a minute.
Because they eliminated the barriers.
Well, it had something to do with the Oval Office in that they deregulated it and then pushed them together. But you're talking about the logistics of distributing it, which is a state-by-state solution.
And that's things that have been done. That's things that's been in the pipeline for months. There's meetings. There's been people in meetings. Okay, You know, you got R&D, you got different things. You got R&D over here, and then you got trucking, and then you got whatever.
all those guys that designed
All right,
those refrigerators,
and
remember, to move the Pfizer vaccine.
So you got a whole group of people that are buying the vials. You got a whole group of people is buying the cap on the vial. You got, you know, everything is being laid out. And this was months ago in logistical meetings. Am I correct?
Right. Correct.
That nobody could say, well, we waved a magic wand and we made it happen.
Certainly not. Certainly not after January 20th.
Is that correct?
Yeah, right.
All right. I wanted to clear
okay,
that.
listen to this. Both of these questions are really good. And I started this way because these questions focus on stuff about observation and scientific method. This first question is really interesting, and I had to do some deep work on it because I've only seen 2 or 3 of these in my life, and we discussed one before. My grandmother is 77 years old and in good health generally, but has had severe rheumatoid arthritis for 40 years. Over the years, she had many biopsies of a swelling in her neck that were said to be reactive lymph nodes. And 20 years ago, so that's 20 years after this starts, she had developed follicular lymphoma in that area and was treated with some easy chemotherapy and radiation and has done well since. So that's 20 years that she hadn't had any more disease. This year, she has been diagnosed with large granular lymphocytic leukemia. Ooh, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? And no one seems to be as upset as I am. She feels great and has no symptoms. The hematologist put her back on weekly methotrexate, which she took 15 years ago when her arthritis was active. Why was that, and what do you think? Leukemia scares the whole family, but not my grandmother. Got it? All right. We've had a discussion here once before about the only patient in my practice who had mold in his sinuses from a very moldy house 30 years ago and developed a lymphoma of the same type as this woman in the sinuses around the mold. He went off to Mayo, and he was one of those first 8 or 10 cases in the world that were shown to be long-term adverse effects of chronic mold inflammation, just stimulating the lymph node on and on and on until it finally turned malignant. This woman, I checked this out, had a lymph node, he said neck, it was actually right here, that was biopsied about every 3 or 4 years because it'd get real big. And it really was a lymph node that was reactive like you'd get if you had the flu or a sore throat. But after 20 years of that, it just stimulated it to become low-grade malignant, and they treated it. Put up that first slide there. This is the disease that is exceedingly rare, and we've talked about lymphoma all the time. Large granular lymphocyte leukemia. It really sounds terrible. So I know that next picture. We do a lot of things in medicine by the way it looks. This is a picture, they can see it good on TV, of a lymphocyte that's just a little bit bigger than our regular lymphocyte, and it's got some little spots in it. So that's nothing about the behavior. You can pull that down. Nothing about the behavior of this disease that makes it worse than this smoldering chronic lymphocytic leukemia we talk about, except that this is a T cell and not a B cell disease. Show that next one. So this is a good picture that shows up pretty well on the TV, and it shows these lymphocyte bearing areas that can get stimulated when you have some sort of chronic infection. You can pull that down now. And so, here we go. I said I'd show you one of these.
Another algorithm.
Yeah. So basically, this condition, if you just look real carefully, it says that it occurs in rheumatoid arthritis, and then it gives you other viral infections. Epstein-Barr virus, that's mononucleosis. So you can pull that down now. So what they know is that these infections cause you to have antibodies, like particularly rheumatoid arthritis is a good one, and other chronic infections, you make the antibodies to them. We've talked about low gamma globulin in the past, and it just keeps stimulating those cells again and again and again. And finally, during all of this stimulation, it's a lot like these places on my forehead and rays where we were in the sun too much. Well, those things aren't cancers, but over 20 years might become, and that's why we put 5-FU on our face every few years and we'll get them off. So there's really nothing secret about that. And your mother is absolutely, grandmother is absolutely correct. She shouldn't worry about it because people generally it can, but generally doesn't. And methotrexate that you take for the rheumatoid arthritis way back when, regardless of why you got this, methotrexate's an easy treatment. We've been using it for 50 years. It works in rheumatoid arthritis. It's generally in low dose, and it's given to these people regardless of why they got it because it sort of tamps down the immune stimulation.
Autoimmune reaction.
It tamps it down. And so grandmama's getting good care. She's not frightened, and she shouldn't be. And the doctors that she's seeing are right on board.
And she and her generation are a great role model for us. Not afraid.
Not afraid.
Well, yeah, but not only not afraid, but she listened and she asked questions.
Yeah.
And she made her own decisions. Mm-hmm. She apparently stopped her rheumatoid arthritis treatment 15 years ago because it was burned out.
Well, we have another question, and
have
I have 2 COVID questions. We're not going anywhere until I get my 2 COVID questions.
I just heard them pop in on you from viewers, right?
No, I have them ready. They're my closer. Georgia cancer specialist affiliated with Northside Hospital. Thank you for the segment. Number 2, go.
All right. Now, this last one is I think really important because this comes out of a question we have done before. About 1 year ago, you answered a question for me about my wife and her multiple myeloma. She was doing well on chemotherapy, and we were offered and considering a stem cell transplant. After your answer, we had it done at a big medical center near our home in Tampa. She was told, quote, "You did great," end quote, with the transplant, but it was hard on her, in my opinion. She's back to playing tennis and in great shape, and now they are talking about her taking a drug that sounds like Revolution for maintenance. Why do that if she did well and is doing so well? In other words, this is a question then about why would somebody who's had a bone marrow transplant, has a great response, now start taking something, quote, as maintenance when this patient's doing so well. Let me put up that next one. This is where science comes from. So you do a bone marrow transplant or a stem cell transplant, and 100% of those people aren't cured. A lot of them, or half of them or more, will recur. So this is a paper about the evidence supporting continuous therapy. Show the next one. All right, here's another one of those studies, right? So here's a study of all the different genetic changes that are present in myeloma. Patients are induced, given stem cells, and then after, either given maintenance or not given maintenance. You can pull that down, Emily. And what's this one? That's back what I was talking about when we were talking about the scientific method. Somebody made a judgment, made a hypothesis. That hypothesis was give this drug, it's Revlimid, not Revolution, but the chemical name is lenalidomide. And look at that. The difference is 1 year, 2 years versus 5.5 years. Pull that down. So that is the scientific method. That's exactly what we were talking about COVID. You take that maintenance because that study shows it almost triples the disease-free survival and lowers by about 60% the relapse rate. So your wife got great treatment. I bet it was Moffitt because that's the big center in Tampa. Follow their instructions. They're giving you good advice. So that's the end of that question. But that was that question there that got me to thinking about how we should explain this COVID business. And that is that you've got to apply the scientific method to it. And we have science, and the science is saying one thing, and the politics is saying something else.
Thank you, Georgia Cancer Specialist,
Ray's got to have a chance to
affiliated
answer
with Northside Hospital. Great. Here's your chance.
Well, I'm just going to echo what Bill was saying there, and as he was saying it, talking about these detailed cases and how we individually look at every little nuance and try to come up with the very best answer. Life works best at a detailed level. So this visual came to me because I'm really into sledgehammers today, but at some level, us physicians with the white coats on need to go after other physicians with the white coats on that handed the sledgehammer to the politicians. The rest of the population needs to tell the politicians, get that damn sledgehammer out of your hands and put it away and quit killing us.
I think some of those people that were talking heads on the television were egomaniacs. Seeking their 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
You don't see many of them around.
They got a little more than 15 minutes. Here's my two questions. They're really quick. So we want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. I hope I don't get sued over that. Am I allowed to say that, or does somebody own that? But we want to know. So we're told that by May 1st, everybody in America it'll be available to everybody in America to go get the vaccine. So we have that by May 1st. So let's say May, June, 2 months, 60 days, anybody in America that wants vaccinated can be vaccinated, and we should be well on our way to normal. Let's just say that's the case. Why would we be asked by the CDC, anyone, to curtail our 4th of July celebrations? Can we have parades again? Can we get on the sidewalk?
What's today's date?
I don't know.
12th,
March.
isn't it?
The 12th.
March 12th.
March 12th, okay.
Right.
March 12th, everybody can go back to normal.
Okay, we do it today.
That's it, today. Go back to normal. If you're fine China,
Stay
figure
out
that
there.
out. Stay out of
exactly.
harm's way. If you're got family that's fine China, take care of them like fine China. Everybody else go back to your life.
Well, I mean, the only
March
reason,
12th.
March 12th. The only reason I asked that is because
I'm going to stop there with one thing. I think that 35% of the American population is morbidly obese.
No, that's a good treatment right there.
Okay, they need to get on a diet, and they need to protect themselves. I don't see them doing so. So with that caveat, I believe that the restaurants should be open. I believe that when they're out, you're talking about events outside at the park, have the events outside at the park.
I'm going to ask you a question, and then you could say to me, this is pretty putting you on the spot.
Sure, go
But
ahead.
you could say I'd prefer not to answer.
All right.
Would you like to wash up the old red truck, get it all shined up, and drive it through the parade?
I'm going to.
Got it. Okay. So, people, I will give you pictures in the future to show you what that
Every
means. And
4th
I
of
don't mean to
July.
say the old red truck. It's a good-looking truck.
Our obese patients are some of our fine China. That's what Bill's saying there. And they
Okay,
are
I'm
good
going
people.
on a diet.
They're
Leave
good
me
people.
alone. Leave me alone. You
Good people, and
understand?
They have a great sense of humor.
Get off my back. All right, I got my second question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Second question. So, let's say, and again, don't answer this if you'd prefer not to.
Okay.
Let's just say a municipality out there called you today.
Okay.
It said, we're talking about, last year we had festivals, and we had this festival, we had the Woolly Worm Festival, and we had this parade, and we had
Sorghum Festival.
we had
Sorghum
events,
Festival,
okay, and we canceled them all. But this year, sun is shining, and we need to have a municipality. Our municipality needs to have a plan on reopening. Should we reopen? What guidelines should we follow? What would be your advice to them if you got that phone call?
What state are they in?
Georgia.
Confusion. They're in the state of confusion.
Not Michigan. Not Michigan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What would we? No, I'm serious. Let's just say you were called by somebody that said,
Let's say it's a high school graduation first.
"Go there, high school graduation."
High school graduation. I think if they want to have a high school graduation, and it's a pretty day like today, they probably ought to do it like they do it outside and let everybody get into the grandstands. That you're going to have grandparents come and everything else, and you don't want those grandparents, if they haven't been immunized, inside the auditorium with them.
Okay.
All right. If it's a athletic event like we were talking about last week, my grandson wrestles, and when the wrestling match is over, they can't shake hands. I mean, let them go play ball, will you? Let them play ball and let people sit in the grandstands, because it's outdoors. And now, I don't know what kind of festival you're talking about, but if it's the 4th of July parade, or it's the Sorghum Festival up there in Union County, it's got this huge, gigantic park. People are out there watching the people, the Irishmen throw stuff and eating sorghum and stuff. It's perfectly safe, in my opinion.
You want in on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know I do. I mean, if it's a mud wrestling contest and they want to wrestle in the mud and they're adults, you make your own decision. Okay? I don't have any business telling a whole group of people what they can and cannot do.
Well, I've got a real visual.
Well, no,
on
that is
mud.
no. The reason that is coming up. Those are two. When I say legitimate, those are two things that I've heard this week. I was listening to a municipality trying to discuss whether to have events, how to have them, okay, and if they even should have them, because a lot of small cities and counties and townships, wherever you are, they put a moratorium on them, and that's being discussed now.
Did they have an advisory council of experts or local physicians or local epidemiologists or chairman of the Department of Chemistry or biology at the high school there to advise them?
No.
Danger.
So you're trying to tell me right off the bat then that a bunch of lay people are trying to decide how to do something without asking somebody who knows. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes, that's what.
Does that make real good
I
sense?
actually witnessed
Does that make real good sense?
No, I would have had
Okay.
if I would put it on an agenda to discuss, I would have actually opened up that item with saying we discussed this with local health officials, and here's the recommendations they're giving. But
or
there was
have
nothing.
the local health official
Right.
there,
And there
in case they
to-
wanted to ask questions. But they should have done due diligence before this got to public
Right.
discussion on what the local, not what the people said, not what Fauci said.
Exactly.
But what,
Exactly.
but what the doctors in this community who've lived here for 30 years and who advised...
They should have invited those doctors.
They should have talked to them first.
Right.
Maybe not one, maybe three together so that they have a little
Make a
cross-pollination.
got it.
But I think that anybody that would discuss something that serious without input is wasting their time
Well, Jerry,
and hurting people. And hurting.
Well, Jerry-
They're hurting
and
people.
potentially hurting people.
Yeah.
But they're wasting their time
Yeah.
because they can't make an informed decision.
Well, Jerry Jones said the Dallas Cowboys will be the stadium. AT&T will be a full open house. The Texas Rangers said play ball. They'll sell out the
So did
stadium.
University of Alabama.
Nick Saban said bring it on. So I
He
don't
said
know.
bring it on.
That's right. You got anything to close with?
Yeah, I got a good one.
What do you got?
I have to modify it a little bit, but
Modify it a little bit.
now I love our law enforcement folks, and so I'm going to put the beginning of this with the statement that this fellow was speeding and he was clearly breaking the law, and he gets pulled over by the sheriff, and it's somewhere way down south like here, and the sheriff drives up to the car. Guy rolls his window down and says, "Sir, you were speeding. I'm going to write you a ticket." The whole time the sheriff's trying to write this ticket, these flies are flying all over the place, and finally says, the guy says, "What's the deal with these flies around here?" The fellow said, "Well, they are circle flies."
Circle flies.
Circle flies. He said, "What do you mean circle flies?" Well, he says, "They fly circles around a horse's butt." Sheriff looks at him and says, "You calling me a horse's butt?" No, I wouldn't do that, but you can't fool them circle flies.
He's got a shirt and a pair of socks for every occasion. Shirt and a pair of socks for every occasion. And he's just like
No,
I'm
trying to regroup
he's
here.
like
Sorry.
Dr. Scott McCloud. McCloud could do that. You remember Scott McCloud? Scott McCloud had a joke for every occasion. And that's why I love Ray. He's got a shirt for every occasion, a pair of socks for every occasion. And I've tried to have a tie, and he's got a joke for every occasion. Now that is a great joke.
Oh, I need one other thing. Geez, I'm glad you paused there for a minute. Kudos. We don't do this. Ezra Miles, my nurse, Miss Larson, has a new grandchild. Ezra Miles, born somewhere up there in the Midwest, Indiana or something like that.
Are they open or closed there?
It's not Michigan, so they're probably
New
open.
grandchild always. Hey,
You've had both your shots. You can be
I
with
can
your
go, yeah,
grandchildren.
she can go up there, yeah. Let me tell you, she'll give them hell if they try to get in her face.
okay. 40 units of vaccine.
At Georgia Mountains Health,
Right.
It could go bad by tonight. Call, get your vaccine, spread the word.
Is that
talk to friends.
LJ and Blue Ridge or just Blue
I
Ridge?
don't know, but you
Because they
call
have
that.
two offices.
They have two offices. Call them and look them up. Call them. Get that used up.
Georgia Cancer Specialists affiliated with Northside Hospital. Thank you for this segment. You could always send to Dr. Whaley a question. Info, I-N-F-O, at fetchernews.com. Put Ask the Doc. Follow us on social media. Ask the Doc. Go to fyntv.com, fyntv.com. Ask the Doc right up there. Segments are always posted in the Ask the Doc area. You could share those. You can get more information about Northside Hospital, read a little information about our good doctor, and share these segments with family and friends. So we're going to take a break. Thank you very much. He's wearing his preventative
Medicine tie.
tie.
It's my mea culpa
Okay.
tie today.
Preventative medicine.
We learn stuff, and we make changes in our behavior when we learn it.
All-Star Political Panel right after this.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in Ellijay, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Do you feel like healthcare has become too impersonal?
3 times an hour, I'll get you in, I'll get you out.
At Lifetime Medical Center, you're more than a number. We get to know you, not just your medical issues. Dr. Alana Kent is board certified in family practice and offers same-day appointments. She and her staff treat conditions from minor to chronic issues. Lifetime Medical Center, convenient to Jasper and Blue Ridge.
This may sting a little.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
It's been 4 generations of family ownership, tens of thousands of customers, and more Chevys than we'd ever be able to count. And more than 60 years later, when we say Days gets it done, we still mean it. With the North Georgia Mountains lowest Chevy prices, a huge selection, and outstanding customer care. See Days Chevrolet in Jasper, and let's get it done.
Days Chevrolet, Days gets it done.
Find new roads.
Circuit World has complete queen bedroom packages at amazing prices. Get this queen bed, dresser and mirror, one nightstand, bedding set, and free 32-inch TV, all for only $1799.99 or $129.99 a month. Or get this complete queen bedroom set and sleep in style, also for only $1799.99 or $129.99 a month. What an incredible deal! Stop in today at one of our 5 locations and get the furniture you've always wanted at Circuit World.
Ace is your healthful place for paint and home goods, tools, outdoor living, and lawn equipment. But did you know Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge is a little bit more? We have hunting rifles and accessories for your next hunting trip. We have Amish furniture imported directly from Ohio. And we have Ace Custom Woodworks for all your custom wood project needs, from cabinets to artwork. Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge. We have your new house in stock.
Spring is coming. Time to work and play in a new truck or SUV from Days Chevrolet in Jasper. Now save $8,000 off new Silverado crew cabs, or save $5,000 off a new Chevy Equinox. The spring savings are here right now. So soak up that warm North Georgia sun and see Days Chevrolet in Jasper, #1 in truck country.
Days Chevrolet. Days gets it done.
Find new roads.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
Hey folks, we're back, and this is the All-Star Political Panel. We're sorry, you do know, if you're new, there's usually 4 of us. Rick, aka the Cub fan, he violated our community standards, as YouTube would say, so he got a strike, and he'll be back next week.
Is that a short-term sabbatical?
Yes.
Okay.
He violated the community standards. That's what YouTube sent. It's a joke. It's a joke. Rick and his wife taking a little mini vacation, so we wish them well. Bruce is with us, Joeen here today, and we are at Circuit World here in Blue Ridge. The sun is shining, zippity-doo-dah, zippity-day. The sunshine is coming my way.
All the insects are waking up, and soon,
everything.
Yeah.
Flowers are blooming, okay? I'm going to have to start the mowers, make sure, got to do the annual, put a new spark plug, do the little tune-ups, because it's time to get the mower out, weed eater.
Go out, trim some trees and bushes.
You don't have any deer?
Yeah, I have deer.
Well, they eat everything this time of year.
Yes, I have. No, they don't eat everything.
Yeah, there's certain things they won't eat.
Moving right along, we have Cat in the Hat has joined us today. Joeen, so, can I tell this? It doesn't matter, I'm telling it anyway. So I was on the phone with Joeen the other day, and we're talking, right? We're talking, I don't know what we're talking about. And just all of a sudden, she's just like, oh my God, there's a $200 book. I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, I just found my Cat in the Hat. Oh, they're right in the middle. You just like all of a sudden like, I just found my Cat in the Hat book.
Is this pretty good
Really,
shape?
it's $400. The 5 of the 6 books sold on eBay this week for $2,000. So that's $400 a piece if you have any of them. And considering that when I had my estate sale recently, most of my Dr. Seuss books sold, but I noticed this one didn't.
Well, at that time you were not aware.
I was not aware they were going to be banned, but of the one VCR
only
I
6.
saved was Gone with the Wind, which my granddaughter found yesterday when we were unpacking. She said,
You better
"Grandma,"
not let that go.
yeah, because otherwise you'll never be able to watch it, which could segue into what I wanted to talk about.
Well, you know, we have
she
several
goes.
we have several things that we can talk about this morning. One being, did you watch Joe Biden's speech last night?
I started watching it and I fell asleep, so...
Okay.
We had some friends
Sleepy
over,
Joe
so I
put
didn't watch
music.
it. I saw afterwards he took a swipe at Trump and then, went on to trumpet his excellent...
But none of it's disappointing to me. So let me say this. Let me say this out there for the people that are determined, and I'm with you, okay? But you're determined in no way whatsoever would you unify. I get it, okay? But reality is, I would like to have a unified country. Not that we all agree with everything, but I'd like to have it. So if you're going to come out and you're going to be the president of the United States and you're going to have, Van Jones on CNN having to wipe back tears and CNN gushing and NBC and
Because
ABC,
of the speech last night?
Yeah, over what a unifying speech Biden did. How can you do that and accept the lies he told?
Well, if you're going to unify, then
Don't
you should
attack. Just move on.
Well, first of all, you should have given credit to President Trump and the previous administration for getting the vaccine that he is now distributing.
Right.
Because if Trump had not worked out a deal and made it available for funds and whatever to the 3 drug companies or 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever, we would not have a vaccine for President Biden to distribute.
And I think making that deal, as you just said, it was really telling people, all the different groups involved with pharmaceutical production, you're going to make this happen. So,
right.
Yeah.
And so...
I mean...
But then he said at the end, or at some point in it, since I slept through it, but I heard this on Fox this morning, they played a snippet where he said how everything, we're going to be able to have barbecues and everything by Independence Day, by the 4th of July.
Yeah.
But then he put in that little caveat that you know how sometimes things can go wrong. And so, we may not be able to do that. But why did he have to put that caveat in?
Classic politician.
Don't tell me to listen to Dr. Fauci.
Yeah.
I mean, that has to go. But when you talk about unifying, I want to give the American people, and I can't give them all, sorry, but I'm going to give the American people some credit that we're smarter than this. When you stand there and you tell us certain things, we're not that, we're not dumb to the point that we can't look it up. Last night, I played the clip when we opened up. He comes out, and the first 45 seconds of his speech, totally unnecessary. Not even necessary. Doesn't change the needle, is not effective, is not needed. He could have come away...
I mean, when he read out
Trump
of his
bashing?
pocket?
No. Trump bashing. He could have came away with me, okay?
Which he should have.
If he would have left a couple things like telling us, Comrade Joe telling us that, the Communist Party says we can get together and have a barbecue on 4th of July. There's several things in the speech that I didn't agree with. But he had an opportunity last night to even get me to come away and say, you know what? Whoever wrote it, yes, it's left-leaning, it's this, it's that, but Joe didn't do too bad. I could have done that, not agreed with it. But he comes out in the first 40 seconds. A year ago, this is a quote, a year ago we were hit with a virus that was meant met with silence and spread unchecked, denials for days, weeks, then months that led to more death. This is what he says. No.
Yeah,
A year ago, they were busy impeaching the president the first time. On January 6th, 2020, the Center for the CDC, under the guidance of then President Trump, issued a travel notice from Wuhan, China, due to the spread of the coronavirus. On January 20th, the day the Chinese finally admitted the virus could be transmitted through the air, the U.S. announced that they were already working on developing a vaccine. Okay? On January 29th, Mr. Trump formed a coronavirus task force at the White House, and 2 days later declared a public health emergency and restricted travel from China. Now, at this time, I'm going to throw it right over to you. At this time, they're impeaching the President of the United States. He could have said, I'm busy with impeachment, but no, he stayed focused. All right, perhaps Mr. Biden wasn't paying attention at this time. All right, they were obsessed with impeaching Donald Trump.
Attention.
When, I'm going to throw it to you, I want to get this out of this article. When the coronavirus did catch the Democrats' attention after Mr. Trump's acquittal, they went on to attack with Mr. Biden himself calling the president's actions of banning travel to China, from China, xenophobic. This is the quote. This is not the time for Donald Trump's record of hysteria and xenophobia, okay? Hysterical, xenophobia, and fear-mongering to lead the way instead of science, Biden said. So he did not have to have that first 40 seconds. He could have just moved on, and you understand what I'm saying? Okay, now you're waiting, Bruce. Go.
Yeah, but during that whole period, what guidance was he getting from CDC? They were totally in the dark and making statements that conflicted with what Joe just said. So, I think he was doing the best he had with the information he had. And it bothered some people with the closure of the people coming in from China. That bothered xenophobic. I wouldn't call it xenophobic. I called it smart.
Yeah, a lot of people were bothered by it, particularly, like you said, Joe Biden personally attacked the president for doing that. Yet that is one of the things that was most helpful in slowing it down. But like you just said, nobody knew what we needed to do.
Yeah,
I mean, China didn't give us any information. They denied that there was even a problem initially.
Right.
So we had to figure it all out ourselves. And so as people came over and other people started getting sick, but what were we supposed to do? I guess we could have quarantined everybody that knew anybody that lived in China. There was nothing to do that would have made a difference.
I think what got a lot of the Democrats mad was Trump was pretty relaxed about masks and social distancing, even though in the early days and weeks there wasn't a whole lot of clear guidance.
Nobody knew that would make a difference.
But when they started really rolling that out, he just he sort of said, well, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask.
I have a mask in this bag. People will say stuff to me. I have a mask in this bag. I go in a grocery store still. I have not been, or have I said it at any time, anti-mask. But to me, it really, there's things that just didn't move the needle. And today, in March 12th, as it is, the vaccine, the distribution, the logistics of getting it to market, those have been going on for months. And for those out there that say, well, Trump, denied Biden transition, look, the medical field and people work. Believe it or not, you would not be where you're at today if there was not a smooth transition, if Trump's team did not have a transition with Biden's team on logistics and what to do next.
Sure. Yes.
They had to clean up Kamala's statement that they were at ground zero when they got there. They had to clean that up.
The teams, just like they do for every transition for the president, all the teams, all the behind-the-scenes behind-the-scenes stuff was all going on. The
Right.
only thing that Trump didn't do was personally invite Biden and his wife Jill to the White House
tea.
and for lunch or whatever, and tour the personal quarters. Okay.
Right.
And I'm sure Biden got to see the personal quarters when Obama was there. So it's not like he'd never been in the White House before. And Trump chose not to do that because he was social distancing.
You're incorrect. Joe said he never was invited to the personal quarters during the Obama administration. He was never in there till he got in there this time.
Oh, well, then that shows that how
That's
Obama
Barack's
felt
problem.
about
Yes.
Okay,
Biden.
so moving
Okay,
right, moving
yeah,
right,
let's move
moving
on.
right along. We
Judy-
now have a year ago, $6 trillion in approved spending in 1 year. Now, that does not include the operational budget. That's the what is our is that $2 trillion in itself?
4.1.
4.1, right?
4.1. We don't take in 4.1, but we spend 4.1. We take in 3.7.
But that's got nothing to do with the $6 trillion.
It's part of it. It's part of it.
I
isn't it?
thought the 1.9 and the 4.1 is where they got the $6 trillion. So I've never understood where you get the $6 trillion. So maybe you could explain that.
We did a CARES Act. We did 900. We did
900 billion.
900 billion. We've done 2.2. But we've done 2 or 3. The total with this 1.9, we've done it right at $6 trillion in.
That's where he got it.
Yeah.
4.1 and the 1.9.
Okay, but I'll tell you the other thing is we haven't spent those other numbers totally. In fact, the last 2.2 we haven't spent but I don't know, 400 billion or something. There's an awful lot of it left. So when all of that gets stockpiled, they're going to have all this money and all those things they took out. They still can, they can move money around. They just, it's just with.
And some of that money is not going to be spent until 2025.
Yes, 2025.
I get that. But what I'm getting at, and I don't want to get stuck on what's not spent. We have approved in a window of 12 months $6 trillion.
Fine.
It's something that it's something that now I will tell you this. In this 1.9, lifting people out of poverty.
It's rubbish. And they know it, but it sounds good.
But Joe stood on TV last night and said, "We have done more. We've lifted." I think he said, fact checked. I could probably get a couple of my Democrat friends out there fact checking as we speak. But what did he say? We've lifted 50%, about 50% of the poor children out of poverty. What? $600, $300 per child.
The only way they could lift that many people out of poverty is if they change the poverty number and they control what equals poverty.
Exactly.
But also, of this 1.9
The government
trillion,
can't lift you out of poverty.
No.
Because what happens when that check is done?
Exactly. This poverty thing's not a snapshot in time. It's a movie. Okay? And so you get your stimulus check this week. A month from now, you spend it.
Okay, also, if they wanted to use that 1.9 trillion, it's just about 10,000 per person for everybody 18 and older. Why don't they give 10,000 to each person? Now, that might help get them out of poverty. Of course, they'd probably go buy a car.
Okay, well, now here we had a little debate last week, and not to get into the details, we talked about Social Security, we talked about getting a check, I think, see, this is a very racist bill. Very racist bill. USDA loans. Not poor farmers. If you're a black. Hispanic, Asian, not white, you get 120% of your loan. 120%. And I asked Andrew Clyde, our congressman, yesterday on the show. He was on the show yesterday morning. I said, we understand when you hear somebody paid 100%, but what was the 120? They put 120, so if there's any, interest is due on your loan, late fees, or anything else, or early payoff deals, it's covered. So 120%. Enough, if you are a white farmer, need not apply. I think everybody should have got the check.
Is that a current farmer, or are there some retired and past farmers that are going to get that same?
It's reparations.
Yeah, exactly.
And I said this on the show this week, and then I think one of the politicians came out, probably listening to me, and said later on, was it Rand Paul? Who was it that said this is reparations?
Mm-hmm.
And so this 1.9 has reparations in it. It has $300 per child. I mean, this is unreal. Oh, by the way, San Francisco doesn't have to worry about their budget shortfall. They cleaned San Francisco's budget shortfall up.
Yeah, they cleaned it up, but because they're still spending erratically, they'll be totally
there'll be
in
a
debt
next budget?
by
There'll be a next one.
By October, they'll be totally upside down again. But I think that, first of all, in this district, our district here, we need to be thankful for 2 of our representatives that have made it to Congress, and we need to work really hard starting now to make sure that they return, because they're going to be primaried by the Democrats, and that's Andrew Clyde and Marjorie Taylor Greene. They both have the guts to get up in front of the Congress and say something, and we should be very proud of that, and we've got to keep them there, because they're the only ones going to the well and saying something. And to try to get rid of Andrew Clyde, I mean, they've stuck him with that $15,000 penalty, which he's still fighting because he feels that it's unconstitutional to have to go through the metal detector to go into Congress where only they are allowed to be.
Oh, you mean Fort Pelosi?
Yeah, Fort Pelosi.
But
I want to talk about something that you sort of segued into.
Go for it.
And besides the black farmers, that, I mean, if that's not racist, I don't know what is, and how anybody, and Coca-Cola is supporting that, and how they can do something so racist is wrong. But also in that bill is forbearance of mortgage payments up to 18 months. I mean, do you know how many people will apply for that have been making their payments that have no reason to apply for forbearance? This is only if you have an FHA or VA loan, okay, not for the private sector. But
darn, not again.
Yeah,
not again, not for the private sector.
Right, see, so the rest of us, if you didn't get an FHA or VA loan,
I wonder if there's a game plan behind this.
18 months, that means those are backed by the U.S. government. So you're helping the guy down the street. You're still paying your mortgage, and you're struggling to pay, you being the generic you.
Could that be billions of dollars in cost that's not actually in the 1.9 that we don't talk about, that there's more additional hidden costs that we don't see?
I think it's stuff that's going to be moved around.
Yeah, and
exactly.
The trickle-down thing and whatever.
Yes.
I mean, who knows how they get that, because it's just something that builds up. But I think more important is just the entire cancel culture. And I think that is something that is so serious. We can't do anything about the 1.9 trillion they passed, but we can do something about the cancel culture and what's happening. I mean, Madeline Murray O'Hair got prayer taken out of school all by herself, and none of the rest of us, nobody went forward to demand that we be allowed to keep that, okay? It happened, nobody thought it would happen, and next thing you know, we couldn't pray in school. But
then she got murdered.
But if I were a black person, I would be incensed and furious that the government and even private companies are removing all examples of what I and my forefathers went through in history. They are eliminating every reference, like you said, of Zippity Doo-Dah, Uncle Remus, Gone with the Wind, Peter Pan, the Cat in the Hat, and all of these things.
Pepe Le Pew.
But any example, any movie now that is showed racial undertones, or if the blacks were mistreated, or it had slavery in it. All of this is disappearing. So how are you ever going to explain to your young children or your grandchildren what your forefathers went through? Because it's gone. It's all plain vanilla out there. They didn't have any problems. There were no problems for black people back in the old days because there'll be no references to it, because that's what racist. How about that's what our history was, and it could be teaching moments. If there's something in this book, which I still can't figure out what is wrong in this book, but if there's a reference in here, then the teachers could say, well, Johnny or Jimmy or whatever, do you see anything wrong on page 18 with how they treated the cat, or thing 1 or thing 2 or whatever? No, it's gone. So it's and we're sitting here letting it, instead of standing up. People should be going to their schools and demanding that these things be left in our schools and in our bookstores. I mean, otherwise,
So
how
are
do
you
we know?
Are you saying eventually the native people of the United States will be black people? They will jump in front of the Indians, and, they will be the original people that were here.
Right.
Who's going to say?
Right. I mean,
It's
that's
that
that's
absurd.
a good point.
It's that
And
absurd.
The
You wipe out your history, you lose an anchor, for your culture. You absolutely lose an anchor.
right. I mean,
How do you know? How do you know? There's an old when you say an old saying, but there's a saying you learn from history.
Yeah.
So how do you know what not to do, or what's not okay? Are they going to correct everything for us, and we will just know this is correct and move on? I mean, I agree with you on the cancel culture. I'm very, very concerned.
Well, how can you have Black Lives Matter when black people were never disadvantaged? I mean, I realize there's still references out there, but it's like trying to find a copy of 1984 to show what our government is doing. It's almost impossible to find a copy. All right? I mean, they are, and that's what's scary, because that's what happened in the book 1984. They took away all history books, all books that had any reference to when people were free. There was, unless somebody had one hidden somewhere, and then it became very precious. That is where we're going. So, I'm really worried going to the car with my cat in a hat, because somebody could stop me.
Well, as somebody said the other day.
Was that one of the ones of the 6 that got?
Yes.
Somebody said the other day. There's
probably a picture in here.
There's an article. If you take the time, I would call it a weekend read. Not that I'm endorsing. I always want to be careful, but there's an article in the Atlantic that I started this past week reading.
The Atlantic.
And it's called America Without God. I think I think it's a good read, America Without God. We should not be in a situation where, if I worked in an office, which I don't, but if I worked in an office and I do a good job at what I do, I show up in the morning, I'm on time, I don't bother my coworkers, okay? I don't bother my coworkers. I do the assignments that the company has set up for me to do.
Do you wear your mask?
Okay? No, don't go there. You understand? I'm doing
Yes.
everything. But I go home and I go to church, and I actually believe that marriage should be between a man and a woman.
Okay.
I can't say that. I can't say that out loud or let you in the next cubicle know that's what I believe if asked, or I have to be in fear of my job.
Okay, but
if
still-
that's what I believe. And the company would probably dismiss me if they knew that was my belief.
Okay.
That's a fear I have of where we're at.
But the guy in the next cubicle, if he is a gay man and he and his partner are trying to adopt the child, and he's talking about their relationship.
That's okay.
See, they can talk about their
That's
relationship.
okay. Right.
All right, but you can't say, well, I not really support that. I mean, how would you have two dads? Oh, I'm sorry, you know, they've banned mom and dad. Now it has to be grown-ups. You cannot say mom and dad. There's a bill now there, they've taken away mom
That's
and dad.
parent or something
Right.
generic.
No, not parents, it's grown-ups. You're grown-ups at home. You can't, it's not brother and sister. You do not have a brother and sister. You have a sibling. Now, how do you teach a 3-year-old when you say, don't do that to your brother? Oh, it's don't do that to your sibling. Because when he gets to school and he says, my brother took my truck away, you know, you don't have a brother.
Okay, so when I say this,
We'd like to talk to your parents.
and don't take this wrong, but you know, I'm Callie not tired of, but they box it into like we're silly because we're talking about Cat in the Hat, but the big picture is, are we going to be to where we're not allowed to believe things, we're not allowed to have our opinion on things, and we have to box that in, and there's only one opinion that matters, there's only one set of rules?
No, there's lots of opinions out there, but the sane opinions have to be kept to yourself, or however it used to be. Or my God, if a white person if more white people believe something than other ethnic groups, then you cannot speak it.
But how did it get to the point that the minority or the people with like minor views on things are the ones that are offended and triggered and all that, and you know, nobody else can be in that boat? I don't understand that.
You can't wear a shirt.
Why can't we be as
t-shirt.
triggered or offended as, you know, the gay or black or, you know...
Exactly. So you can't wear a T-shirt now with the American flag on it because it might offend someone. If it offends someone, they need to leave this country. This is the United States of America.
Got a couple big things I want to make sure we do before we get out. It's the...
Or used to be.
People are not, when I say people are not paying attention, you're not paying attention to some things. Gun legislation. Feinstein and Cicilline introduce assault weapons ban.
Yeah.
Senator Dianne Feinstein from California and Congressman David Cicilline of Rhode Island introduced the assault weapons ban. This is March 11th. Today is the 12th, just yesterday. An updated bill to ban the sale, transfer, manufacturing, import of military-style assault weapons and high-capacity. I mean, they are going after your weapons. They are going after, they have passed, they're trying to nationalize elections. They have passed...
Different bill.
Different bill. But the House is on high speed. They're trying to delete the right-to-work law of states that have the right-to-work law and trying to go back to making it easier to unionize. There's so many things, and here's what I like is, well, they don't stand a chance in the Senate. I don't trust that, but there's a lot of stuff out there going on that people are not paying attention to, Bruce.
I agree wholeheartedly, and like, you know, on the Senate, I mean, who's going to step up? I mean, Joe? You thought he would have done it on the COVID relief bill, but no. I don't know if it was a backroom deal with him.
I think
Joe Manchin.
Right, Joe Manchin. I don't trust Joe Manchin.
Yeah, I mean, he talks big, but he votes.
Exactly.
He always gets in line and votes with the Dems. So
exactly.
I think the problem is there's too much to pay attention to, and nobody knows. It's coming at you from every direction, and there are people out there that don't necessarily feel strongly about guns like a lot of people or most people do. So that isn't important to them. But there's another bill out there regarding child care or regarding this and that and the other, or the election thing, and they feel strongly about it. But there's 50 other bills besides guns and election that they're just pushing through because we're all focused on these two. And that's how we get all those EPA things and all those other restrictions on everything under the sun. That's how they change the language where you can't say mom and dad in school anymore. And the reason you can't do that is because some people have two dads or two moms. And so it makes a child feel insecure when you talk about your dad and he has two moms. And so that's why you're not allowed to use those words. I mean, my God, what...
You relax. Simmer down. I will move us on as you're taking... Take it to relax.
As a temptation say, it's a ball of confusion.
So things, if you think the 57 or whatever executive orders he signed, okay, and if you think closing the Keystone Pipeline and uncertainty, first of all, Joe Biden is a foreign policy disaster. We haven't even gotten into that.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
He hasn't talked to any foreign people. Kamala's taking all the phone calls.
Okay.
We did talk to Benjamin Netanyahu.
So he's a foreign policy disaster. But that being said, if you think the executive order in closing the Keystone Pipeline, you wait till Representative Holland, is that her name? That is going to be the Interior Secretary.
Deb Holland. Oh.
Wait till she's confirmed. Now there's some pushback, but she'll eventually get confirmed. Okay.
She's radical.
She will end every fracking, oil drilling, coal mining lease she can
On federal land.
on federal land. She'll make sure there's no new leases. I mean, you wait. Now, fuel over here, do you think the game plan is to put us all in an electric car? Or is that
Absolutely.
Is that the game plan?
Oh,
Because
yes.
We're at 265 in the Northeast. They're at 305. I had a family member laugh at me yesterday. I said, "We're up to 265." Oh, that's good.
They're
We're over-
$4.95 in
we're over-
California.
Right, we're over $3 in the Northeast. They're $4 on the West Coast, and it's going to continue. And the other thing is, the big lie told to the American people is that inflation is soft, and that's a lie. Inflation is an increase. Inflation, unless I don't have the dictionary pulled up, but it's very simple. Inflation means you can buy less with your dollar. Your dollar has less buying power, and it doesn't go as far. And the reality is, I do know this. I got a call from someone this week that works with very big developers. I don't mean just building a house, big developers. And price increases and the supply chain on materials and increases are so high from windows, roofing shingles, drywall, insulation, and the back orders that they are putting big projects on hold.
And people are canceling their contracts that already had them and giving up their deposit because the
Cost of
the
construction.
cost of the construction materials. We went yesterday. OSB board, which used to be $7, $8 a sheet.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, is now $30.18. $30 for OSB, which is the cheapest kind. A sheet of plywood, the smooth, real plywood, is over $50. 2x4s now are $12. They used to be, well, of course, Keith can tell me when they were $2. Okay, but I mean, it's unbelievable. It's not doubled, they're tripled and quadrupled. And people are holding back, waiting for the prices to come down. But I'm not sure they're going to come down because of what we've done with oil and the other things that move the stuff around.
That being said, and I know we got to get out. We got our
Canada
next
isn't going to
segment.
give us anything.
But that being said, they're lying to us about inflation. I mean, the price of food.
Well, but
Go ahead.
on inflation, I listened to a couple economists earlier in the week, and they sort of had the same viewpoints that you're discussing. But yeah, one fellow said, yeah, there's inflation behind the scenes in certain things, but he says what we often see with inflation is some things, maybe a lot of things will go up, but there's always other things that will go down. So,
but there's not much going down now. However, the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, the number they give us and the numbers they compare is always adjusted. It takes out energy and housing. And you take out those two, those are the things that are skyrocketing. And they take those out.
Food in the last year, dry goods in the last year.
Food is one of the few things that stays in there. But there are things in there, that are going down somewhat.
They're staying stable.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so you're not going to see much in the CPI because it's seasonally adjusted for things. Plus, they always take out energy and housing because those are big jumpers. It's sort of like if you were going to look at the Dow Jones index, if you took out the two, like Tesla.
Top 30.
Why they put Tesla? Okay, which can go up $40 and down $40 in a heartbeat. They put that in the Dow, and that's what causes those big jumps in the Dow now, they put Boeing and Tesla. Boeing's always been in there, but Tesla and some other weird thing that goes up $50 at a time.
Well,
and
one of the
that
tech
shouldn't be in
stocks,
the
Apple
Dow.
or Google or something.
Yeah.
But the same people, like, create and define the poverty rate are the same ones that are doing the CPI.
Right.
You
But
know,
see,
they play these games in the government with all these damn
But
rates.
I want to know what happens when the bills come due. I mean, they're lifting people out of poverty. They're going to send. The social security net, social safety nets that they're the new one. They already want the.
You got to stop saying lifting them out of
all right, wait a
poverty.
minute,
That to me is like giving an addict his heroin for the week. Because after that they're going to fall
But
down.
wait a minute.
No,
they
I
didn't
got it.
lift
You're
them out of
right. But
poverty.
when you say I got to quit, I got that.
It
I'm with
just-
you. Watch CNN and all of them. They're giddy that we're lifting people.
No,
Look at them.
it's
We're lifting
the,
people
it's
out.
the
That's the
distribution
message
of the
point.
money.
The message point.
Okay,
Yeah.
what they've done is that they haven't necessarily lifted people out of poverty. They've created more in the middle. Okay, they're taking all the money away from the rich people that created the jobs and that create the economy we have, and they're now middle income, and they're bringing these people up. They want everybody on this same plane. But if everybody makes the same amount of money, then nobody wants to work.
Junkie has to have a fix, and I don't even like to put it that way, but I hate to say it. The truth is, okay, when you get your $1,400 and you get your $300 per child, and you get this check and that check, and enhance this and that, and you go out and you get the new shoes,
New phone.
you get the $1,000 phone, you get all these, then you're going to have the media say, wow, the economic indicators are through the roof, the economy's through the roof. No, we injected liquidity into the economy that has to go away. You got to keep coming back.
Biden has saved the economy.
You cannot turn
you're
the
gonna hear that.
economic wheel on government money.
You need to go
can't
buy
do
Apple
it.
And the other thing that people are not thinking about in this glorious moment of getting these checks is, in your 2021 taxes, you're going to have to declare that. You're going to have to pay tax on that, just like we did last year.
Okay, quick subject because we're up against the wall. Did you have a subject today?
Yes.
What did you have? A subject?
Term limits.
Term limits.
Just a quick thing on term limits. I pulled this out. Just to give you a few examples, some of our senators, how long they've been in the Senate. Mitch McConnell, 36 years. Chuck Schumer, 40. That includes 18 years in the House. Dianne Feinstein, mentioned her before, 28 years. Bernie Sanders, 30 years, 16 in the House. Patty Murray, 28. Susan Collins, Republican, 24. And we go to the House. Nancy Pelosi, 34 years. Maxine Waters, 30 years. But, the one who takes the cake? In Michigan, the Dingell family?
Not the Dingles. I got
Debbie Dingell, the wife of John Dingell, who died, she took over his
inherited
office.
a seat. I'm glad you
He
brought that one
inherited
up.
his seat from his dad.
Right.
They have held that seat for 88 years.
I am so glad you brought. If you would have left
88.
if you'd have left the Dingle out, I am so glad you brought that up because that is a prime example
88.
of people that think they inherit. Dad got it, he got it, and then gave it to the wife. The Dingles have had that how many years? 88.
88 years.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yeah.
you got a subject.
We need
before do
term
winners
limits.
and losers.
No,
Did you have
I
some-
did my subject.
Okay, winners and losers.
Oh, okay. My losers, Eric
Quit
Swalwell.
checking your stock.
He filed a 64-page complaint against Trump, Don Jr., Rudy Giuliani, and Mo Brooks out of Alabama, seeking relief from emotional distress, negligence, incitement to riot. So this is finally going to force these issues to be adjudicated, and all this stuff about inciting a riot and all this sort of thing. I think it's just going to backfire him, and Swalwell, having the fun with the Chinese gal, it's probably going to blow up in his face and hopefully force him out. My winner are the Swiss voters. 51.2% of voters recently on a referendum decided to ban face coverings other than health and things like that. The aim of this follows what they banned some years back with minarets around mosques. They said no minarets in Switzerland, and this is for burqas. Good on the Swiss.
Winners and losers.
My winner is Andrew Clyde for standing up before Congress and explaining some of the things that are in the 1.9 trillion rescue bill or whatever, and to point out how racist it is to only forgive the black farmer loans, that it's truly racist. You can't do something that's based on race. I mean, anyway, so Andrew Clyde for standing up. And my losers are, again, the American citizens. And it doesn't matter whether you're white, black, or Hispanic. The fact that the cancel culture is able to totally sanitize our entire history and make it whatever somebody wants it to be, and nobody is standing up to challenge this, to prevent it, to stop them from removing everything. We lose something else every week.
Can I just say something on reparations?
Yes, sir.
Barbara mentioned this the other day, and some other people said similar things. How can first or second generation Americans, third generation Americans who got here in the late 1800s, 1900s, why are they responsible for something happened, back into the 17 and 1800s? In terms of oppressing blacks, as it were. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, why are those people who work hard, make money, why should they be even talked about as being taxed and giving reparations to these people?
And just because you're black, if you came over here 50 years ago from Haiti or Jamaica or Ethiopia or whatever, okay, you're black, but you weren't a relative of a slave. There aren't that many of them, here. I mean, I don't know how they determine, just because you're black doesn't mean you were disadvantaged or do reparations.
Yeah.
So there's nobody here that would owe the reparations, but there's nobody here that deserves them. So, I mean,
well, it's not the big number they throw around, 13% of the population, it's a $110,000 check.
Okay, folks, we're going to take our break. Before we do, a lot of questions surrounding the election bills in Georgia down at the State House, SB 241, HB 531. A lot of questions surrounding those two bills. What's going on? Are they in conference committee? What will happen? Will the governor sign them? I have been. On a daily basis, I have been focusing on those bills. I have been giving you updates of what's going on. I have been in communication with members of the House, members of the Senate. Okay? I have really stayed in tune with that. And that being said, tune in Monday morning at 8 a.m. Okay? 8 a.m. We will have some weekend developments, some things that are taking place down at the Capitol today that we will be able to report. But you're wondering, SB 241, will there be no excuse absentee ballots, or will there not be no excuse absentee ballots? Will the bills curtail the power of the Secretary of State? Will you have to have identification for an absentee ballot? What about this? What about that? We have really stayed in touch with people at the Capitol. We've stayed focused on these bills, and I know it has national implications, and you're paying attention nationally to what's happening in Georgia. So 8 a.m. Monday morning, FYNTV.com. I will be talking to some people today. Is it in conference committee over the weekend? And I will be able to give you a thorough update Monday morning of what's happening. We're going to, yes, sir.
End of session, how close is that?
I think, when crossover was Monday, and I think it leaves 10 days, so I don't know if it's this Friday or the following Monday, but we're only about 5 or 6 days left in session. Okay?
Thank you.
That everything goes, yes.
And so everybody should call their representative
Yes.
and at least say, don't let them water down the bill.
Right.
Do not remove requirement for photo ID, and do not allow absentee ballots except for a reason.
Yes.
You can keep it real simple. In other words, just at least keep those things in. If you can think of other things, naturally add that, but at least have them. We must require photo ID. and you can't let them do the absentee ballots, like they've done them.
Folks, we'll be right back, and when we return, it'll be time for Tax Tips with Beth Bennett. I have some questions for her. Trust me, with all these new changes and money being sent and getting checks in the mail, direct deposit, what are we paying taxes on? Oh, we're going to put it on her and ask her the questions right after these messages.
She just left.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair, and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Do you feel like healthcare has become too impersonal?
3 times an hour, I'll get you in, I'll get you out.
At Lifetime Medical Center, you're more than a number. We get to know you, not just your medical issues. Dr. Alana Kent is board certified in family practice and offers same-day appointments. She and her staff treat conditions from minor to chronic issues. Lifetime Medical Center, convenient to Jasper and Blue Ridge.
This may sting a little.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
It's been 4 generations of family ownership, tens of thousands of customers, and more Chevys than we'd ever be able to count. And more than 60 years later, when we say Days gets it done, we still mean it. With the North Georgia Mountain's lowest Chevy prices, a huge selection, and outstanding customer care. See Days Chevrolet in Jasper, and let's get it done.
Days Chevrolet, Days gets it done.
Find new roads.
Hey, folks, we're back. I'm your host, BKP. We are at Circuit World here in Blue Ridge, Georgia, and it is time for tax tips, H&R tax tips with Beth Bennett. How are you?
I'm good, Brian. How are you today?
Good. You look spring. I like it. Is that the feeling you have?
I hope it stays.
You hope it stays?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of winter.
Not a fan?
No.
Well, I like it. Good. Wearing white, you are dangerous here. Living on the edge. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Well, Monday's a big day.
Monday's a big day. It is the filing deadline for the business returns of corporations, partnerships, trusts, and estates. So
Monday's it.
Monday's it. So start gathering your documents.
Get your stuff filed.
Here's that filed. Don't forget to.
Now, what if? Let's get right to that. Now, Monday is a deadline. Now, this is a business deadline for filing. It's a lot of pressure, but that's what you guys do, and that's how you guys work under pressure. So if somebody says, you know what, I've been working, I'm so busy, and I got to find all the receipts in the floorboard of my truck. You've had that happen.
Never.
You've never had somebody go back out and say, I think, no, I've been that person, so I am not judging. No passing judgment here, okay?
Lots of us work out of my car.
Right, so
my car's always a mess because I work out of it. So
have you ever had anybody bring in the shoebox?
Shoebox, and I think the strangest one we had was, you know, the bags that comforters come in, the plastic bags. I think that might be my strangest. We've had coffee cans and
that's good.
And tote bags.
And we are not. That's called Small Business America. We love it. Now, they might wish you did a little more organizing,
We'll help
but
them get it together.
You'll help them get it together.
Not on the 15th. If you want us to do that, come a little earlier.
But let's. Usually we close with this, but let's open with this. It is time, you guys. I don't want to say you work weekends, but I bet you
We do.
you have.
We do.
Okay, and you make special appointments, and because Monday is the day, can somebody still call you and say, I just got all my stuff, can I bring it in and make it happen?
Absolutely. We will work with you, whatever you need to get your tax return filed timely. If we need to file an extension, you can do an extension, and then that'll give you to September 15th. But it's always best to file on time.
It's best
I
to.
preach that all the time. File as early as you can. That way there's no identity theft, because you don't want to come in April 15th because you owe, and we file your return and now someone else has already filed in your name. A fraudulent return, got a fake refund, and now you have problems. So the earlier you file, even with a corporation, a partnership, trust, estates, any of that, the best thing you can do always is file as early as possible.
So if you're out there and you're really busy, and we know you are, and you run a small business or large business, but you've got things going on, and it's time to get this done, and you need to get it done ASAP. Look to Beth Bennett and H&R Block. They can make it happen for you. Monday's the deadline for filing. Okay, so what was that? How did that go? Is like, I'm so confused. We're all confused. We don't know if unemployment's taxable, not taxable. If what we're getting now, we have to report when, and the new child credit, blah, blah, blah. We don't know. The government is doing.
This is my quick reference guide to the changes that impact us in your stimulus and your
That's
tax
the
return.
quick reference
This
guide.
is the quick reference. This is the brief summary. This is not like full. It gives the highest lights, right? What the questions are going to be. And so the big thing is about the new stimulus. It's $1,400. It is $1,400 for your dependents as well. We don't know when that's coming out. They said they'd get it out as soon as possible, whatever that means. December 27th, it happened. Lord, I think it happened within a few days for some people. And then other people, they're still reconciling on their tax return and trying to get it.
Now, there's a place on your tax return that if you did not receive it, you put it in
Well, no matter
did you-
what, you have to put the amount you received or didn't receive. So if
Right.
you received 0, we put 0. If you received 600, we put that. 1,200, whatever that amount is that you received, and they're matching that up in the background to make sure that you got the right amount according to your tax return. If you got more than what you should have, then you're not required to pay it back, but by reconciling on your tax return, you will receive the additional amounts or the amount you're due for your stimulus. For this new stimulus that's coming out right now, the only way to claim it, if you don't receive it for whatever reason, lost in the mail, changed accounts, whatever happened and you don't get it, to claim this $1,400 per person will go on next year's tax return in the spring of 22. So
Okay.
if you don't get it now, you're not getting it. It'll be next year. They did clean that up about, keep reprocessing.
So, this is the quick reference guide.
And it's that not
So,
crazy?
if
There's
you
so
got,
many.
if you received federal unemployment last year, if you received enhanced, that's taxable.
So for the new law that passed, and it does go backwards to January, so if you've already filed, we can amend that once the IRS updates their forms in their system. So that one's going to take a little bit of time because the IRS has to change tax forms to accommodate that. Then we have to make it work in the system. Then they've got to get it out to all their software providers. They've got to get it written into their systems. Then it has to be tested. Then we'll be able to make the changes on tax. It's a lot, right?
Slow down.
So that's
Slow
gonna
down.
be
Pump the brakes,
a
as we
while.
say.
All right. So tax-wise,
No, wait a minute. You can't gloss over something that, this only works so fast. I'm sorry. Are you saying that they passed things this week, yesterday, that actually are retroactive in last year?
correct.
That if you've already filed, you may had to file a amended return.
An amended return. It's just a. It's
Okay.
just a.
Now let's see if
the
I
name of the
catch up
form.
to that, because you were running right along there.
So they made.
What are some of those things? I
the
bet you have
unemployment-
those.
Just really the unemployment is really the only thing, and I want to make sure I'm at the right amount because they changed. Look at all the amounts they got. Unemployment. So if you are, and I'm going to read it just because because it's very detailed, but I don't want to do detailed. You can exclude up to $10,200 for a single person or $10,200 on a tax return for each spouse. So if you're married and you both received unemployment, you got $20,000 now of non-taxable income. That's not in the systems to claim it yet. So if you haven't filed, you can wait for the systems to update, or you can file now.
Folks, I am so thankful we have her and her great staff to try to keep up with this. I'm so thankful that somebody out there.
We haven't even hit on like most of the things in there. There's
Well,
child
you want to
tax.
start hitting on some
No,
of that?
I mean it's a lot. So really, just be sure you've done research before you do your tax return. If you don't use a professional, I mean I recommend us, but I said this all last year and the year before because of all the tax law changes and now the stimulus and a tax law change in the middle, smack in the middle of tax season. Use a professional. You don't want to miss a credit that you're due. I mean that.
And
that
and
can
right
make a
right
big
now
difference.
right now when we're talking about some things that are retroactive, and if you've already filed your taxes, you may have a more refund coming. And,
Exactly.
And so, what are some of the other items you wanted to talk about today? I know the way things are moving. Action items are right there today, so I know there's a lot of questions we have, but what are some of the things that you want to make sure we share with our viewers today?
Really, I think that the two things, the highest, most important that everyone is looking at is the $1,400 stimulus payment, and that you're up to $10,200 is not taxable of unemployment. And that's federal and state, so it doesn't matter, right? That combined amount on your federal return. Now, we don't know
Wait a
what
minute,
Georgia's
that's federal
doing.
and state? Is that
It's
state
unemployment.
too?
Yeah, because you received your federal on your state, so there's no differentiation on that form.
Okay,
So it's a matter of how your total
so
unemployment.
is
Total unemployment.
is the state getting money from the government to replenish the coffers of what they're going to give back?
I don't know. You're the government, man.
I mean, no. I mean, I am so
think that's
confused
how it's
because
working, yes,
because if you are the state of Georgia, if you are the state of Georgia, and you had X amount of people on unemployment, and generally the way it works is when you go in and fill out for your unemployment, they'll say, do you want a full check or do you want it taxable? Doesn't mean you're exempt from the tax.
Correct.
But if you say, okay, taxable, then actually money comes out of that and goes to the Department of Revenue of the state of Georgia, which is calculated in tax revenue the state receives throughout the year.
Same as the federal government.
Right? And now that has to be given back. Right? And who gives it to the state and says, oh, here's your $25 million?
All that magic happens somewhere else. So the details of that,
Did
don't
I
know, but
start by saying I'm so confused?
It's really, and people are confused, and so don't feel alone, and there is help. But, you know, we would love to help you at H&R Block.
No, I really, I
studying
mean it every single week when we get together. I sincerely mean it, but, you know, in the past we have talked, and Beth and I have gotten together for several years now and shared things with you, the viewers out there, tax tips, and we've always talked about the reasons why you should use a tax professional. I guess today I can't stress any more how important that is any more than today, that it's really important to come sit down with a tax professional.
you don't want to miss a credit. I don't want to give them $1 more than what I'm supposed to, right? So
You want to brag about your team a little bit?
I do want to brag.
There's
about
that one lady. What's her name?
Me?
No, not you. That other lady.
You want me to
Joking.
call
I shouldn't say.
one?
No.
You want me to call one out? I'll get in
No,
trouble.
I will get in trouble. No. Okay. So I don't want to get in
Okay.
trouble.
All right, so back to businesses real quick.
Okay.
If you're a business return, you're due on Monday. Make sure you have your end of year bank balance. We need that total. Make sure you claim your interest. Have your auto expenses. You can either take actual expenses on your vehicle or your mileage. If you're doing your own, it's one or the other, not both. We can compare and see. 99.5% of the time, it's better to take the mileage. It's a nice higher rate. What else do we have on there? If you purchased any new equipment this year, you want to make sure you have that. There is that special depreciation. You can wipe it all out. It could make a big difference for you this year if you bought something and then things didn't go the way you planned. Depreciation is a big help on a tax return, so you want to make sure you have that. If you canceled any debt this year, if as you're a business and you canceled debt at, with a credit card or a company, you may get a 1099 for that. That is claimed as income. Sorry to say. Use of your home for an office. If you work out of your home as this business, we get to take that in your tax return, so make sure you get that. A lot of people miss that credit, and that's a big deal too. That can bring a lot of money. So those are the big things we want to make sure. Monday's the deadline. Come and see us.
Because I have a studio in my house. No, I do.
No, really, and so you can
Right.
take that portion.
I have a home
Absolutely.
office, and I actually do my show from my studio in my house. So
Absolutely, you get to take the percent of. So if you just for easy numbers, if the house is 1,000 square feet and you use 100 square feet for your office, right? Then that's the percent you take on your tax return for your, like if you pay rent, that's the easiest scenario. You pay rent, so that percent of the rent is tax deductible, right? Because if you were a business and you rented a building,
right,
it's fully deductible, right?
Right.
So just that portion. Now make sure that whatever you claim as a home office, all that's in that room is office stuff. A lot of people, work at their dining room table and claim that, and they have made some exceptions to that.
Can I get any kind of can I get a credit if I've taught the dog how to use the copier, or that's kindly out?
Do you pay him?
Do I?
I don't know.
Treats. There you go. Yeah, I don't want to
There's
get
another business
I don't want to get confusing. Not that the government's
The bank gives out lollipops, so
not that the government's already confusing enough. Hey, folks, Beth Bennett, H&R Block, Tax Tips with Beth Bennett. We got to wrap up, but let me say this, okay? a full team of professionals. She has several locations. You can find her. You can find it H&R Block.
HRBlock.com.
Beth Bennett, HRBlock.com. Several locations all through North Georgia to help you. Trained staff, very good qualified staff in all the locations. Just a great group of people, and they are ready. Now, they have business hours, but if you call them and you work late or you're trying to get all your stuff together and meet the deadline Monday, they will work with you. They will work with you in any of your tax filing. And also, they handle year-round accounts, so don't just think tax day, year-round accounts, and there's more. There's even more.
Payroll.
Even more. If you call now, I feel like I'm giving away the free prizes, but if you call now, if you go sit down with them and do your taxes, they will also help you with next year's game plan.
Absolutely.
And that is big, okay? Planning in advance will save you money.
He's our commercial. I love
Yeah.
it. Great job.
That's it. That's all I have today.
Me too.
I have to go home. Sun's shining.
I know. Who wants to work on these days?
Don't give anybody the day off.
I'm going to a picnic with my granddaughter at the park for a school field trip. Isn't that nice?
I love it. Let's
What a
get
great
her to
time.
the picnic. You could share this, and it's great information with your friends. Tax tips, H&R Block with Beth Bennett on fyntv.com. Go there. You will see tax tips right there, their own section with all the segments. Share them with your friends. Monday morning, 8 a.m. I will be right back. It's almost like right after these commercials, it'll be Monday morning, 8 a.m. FYN TV, and we'll be back.